we are gonna try and jump into this right away today. I realized I was a dumbass last time. So let me explain why I am such a dumbass. Let me actually see my chat and move OBS to the right screen. I should probably make a background for this scene too. Also, the VTuber works so much better. I have Minecraft running. The VTuber works so much better now that I have it launching without Steam. So that's great. Why is it not? Oh, it's not set to the right game. It's still set to Broken Age. From Sunday. There we go. Please. Thank you. This is running so much better. It's going to hate me for a minute, and I'm going to let it run as I explain this, and I'm hoping letting this feature run from Distant Horizons will help the game be less laggy as we go through. Yeah, I'm already feeling the lag. Yeah, it's gonna do that. It's gonna do that. What did I? That's what I want to do. I want to turn down live stream music a little bit, just a wee bit, so I can hear my own thoughts. I have sensitive ears, apparently. I am a dumbass. So half the time last time, I finally added a day counter, and half the time it wasn't working. So we're using the F3, which says days played. And I was confused why this says 19 and this says 20. I am a very slow processor, by the way. I will understand a conversation days, weeks, years after I've had it. I am a very slow processor. This is the day we are on. This is the days that have passed. Funny enough, I don't think I've actually claimed on stream to be smart. I don't think I have, actually. Oh, ETA 9 minutes, lovely. That's great. What do I? Oh right, the snorkel. Snorkel gets water breathing. Okay, while it's slowly doing that, I forgot I'm speedy. I am speed. I am speeding. I need to remember, I don't have to look down all the time. I can look up. You know what? I'm forcing myself to look up. I have a standing desk. I never stand at it, but it's great when I need to move it ever so slightly. So I am moving my computer up in order to actually look up and let it recognize my eyes and my mouth. Do this. There we go. Lovely. Okay. So this should be... I'm a phantom. I'm a phantom. I'm a phantom. Yep. Yep, my game's still broken. I'm at work, so bites your ankles. No worries, Blush. Good luck at work. Oh, right! So... Oh, I forgot I had this. Hold on. So while my computer hates me, I forgot I made this. It's time for everybody's favorite Google slideshow. Let me open this thing. I hate. Let me see the thing I want to see. You're not on the right account, that's why I can't see it. Oh dear, the VTuber's lagging now. Oh, there we go. We're back. Alright! Let's get this up. We'll be slideshow. Come on, slideshow. There we go. Let's give me a window capture. Select you. Boop. No, that's not where I wanted you to go. I have an order. There we go. So we're on day 20 of the 100 days, and we've been updating this every 10 days. But instead of you guys staring... Oh, that's not... Nope. Instead of you guys... Instead of you guys staring at a blank screen as I add in mods, I've condensed it and spent the time off camera adding them in and making changes and finding new ones instead of taking 20 minutes to stream. So we removed quite a few mods. I wasn't using Books of Magic at all and no idea what to do with them. Callable Horses was just annoying. Underground Villages wasn't working. We don't care about the biome div or above it. Fallen Adventurers was cool, but it didn't really add too much. Hobbit House, never saw it, never used it, haven't tried it. Double Doors is giving me problems with farms because of the trapdoors opening with... Or not farms, with building in general. Because trapdoors will open with doors, which is something that gets updated in a later version of the mod. but is not currently updated in this. We are on 1.19.2 for reference. A good place is just a little animation when you place a block. Guard villagers, Minecraft Reborn, or Minecraft Comes Alive Reborn already takes care of that. Better Illagers, I switched it out for a different one and got rid of it entirely because, as you can see above me, we changed from Max's Better Mobs to Gray's Mob Overhaul, which does include better Illagers, or like a different Illager texture is what I mean. And then we changed from JEI to REI, because in using Passion SMP, there is a very useful thing that I've wanted for a while in playing this mod pack, is you can condense certain items. So all of Chipped, the like 60 pages of Chipped blocks are now condensed. And life is so good. It's much easier to actually look through and see the recipes. And I have them condensed not like entirely as just one modded chip. I have it condensed via which workbench it goes to. And I'm hoping when I export the mod pack and update it at the end of this, I do not plan on changing this. There's no reason for me to remove this. This will more than likely, like 99%, be in the final mod pack. I'm hoping that I can add in the specific condensing I have, so people don't have to do that. And then we've added some performance mods. We don't really care about those. You don't care about that. And then cosmetic mods like Bio Music, Fish on a Line, it's notification whenever there's something on your fishing pole. Dynamic Crosshair, which I felt makes it a little more RPG. Minor Lore. That sounds weird if you don't read the text above me. It just adds little cool books that have been pre-written, and it's just a little bit of loot. And I think it's funny. And it just reminds me of finding random books that you don't care about in Skyrim. Like, oh, Bandit's Journal. I don't care about this, but I'm going to collect it. That is the entire reason it's added. Hyper-realistic sky. It doesn't fit in at all, but it does fit the Skyrim vibes. So in it goes. And what are they up to? I thought that'd be a nice thing to add. I want to attempt to get some people in to join me for these 100 days. I'm not sure if I can, but I want to attempt that. And also, it's just cool for multiplayer purposes. And you could, I haven't checked. You could probably see it in third person, but I haven't checked that. And then gear, structure, and miscellaneous. We added towers, more fireballs. It's a fireball mod. It's just as chaotic as it sounds. You can craft fireballs. Enchantable staffs. This is the kind of mod I was looking for. I'm so happy I found it. There are staffs that are enchanted in the normal enchanting table, so theoretically we can break them. I can't wait to throw them through the tool leveling table. Goblin traders. I thought it'd be cool. Mimic mod. You can make the mimic your pet, and now I can see mimics in more places than just the underground player bases. So there's actually mimics across the world, and occasionally they'll change out from a chest. You can even craft one as well. And then we changed some resources packs, or added in more resource packs with assorted delays, blues better mobs, and better GUI for villagers. And that's it, until day 30. Let's get this out of my face. And let me close that, because we don't need it. And we have a minute left for this to be done. Come on. I think what's something interesting. Ooh, you know what? We're just gonna let this sit, and I'm just gonna talk this out. Even though it's lagging, my guy, I'm hoping that having this enabled will make it so for the rest of this I'm not lagging. So we're gonna deal with it for the second. Oh wait, are we good? Oh, my VTuber's still lagging, but if I turn that off, are we good? Phantom. I'm a phantom. It's still laggy. If I turn it off, does VTuber become better? Or is it just the fact that I have it over Minecraft? I can't tell. It may very well be that I just have it over Minecraft. What if I click off? Does it instantly just make it better? No. So why is VTuber laggy? I'm gonna try something. We're gonna get rid of this. Where are you? This. Let's try this for a second. I wanna see. Does this run any better? Seemingly no. No. Seemingly it does not. Okay. Maybe it does. I can't tell. I think it's just about the same. Yeah. It is. Why are you below? After audio, I don't care about the limit capture frame rate, perhaps? No, that get rid. Oh, maybe. It's still lagging behind, admittedly. There is an off. That almost feels like a run. But maybe not. But maybe not. Okay, I think it's just gonna run laggy because Minecraft laggy. Despite my attempts to make it not. Yeah, leaves are fast, weather's fast, graphic quality fast. I have just about as well as it can run. Ooh, now VTuber is good. Okay. Was it just Distant Horizons that makes me laggy, or was it the distant load? It seems like it was the distant load. Okay, I'm gonna assume we're A-okay. And now we could actually do things in this world. I do have a bit of a plan. Where was it? Where was this? Hold on. I like being able to write things down. I like my handwriting. I like looking back at my handwriting and seeing my old notes. Where is the list of plans ideas? Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's actually, you know what? Let's stick in the house for this. Let's stick in the house. I don't need to be wasting more food than I already am. Okay. I want, by the end of this, to defeat all the bosses. I haven't decided exactly what so far, but that is now my goal. And in order to get there, I want better gear, and I want sustainable food. And it occurs to me, I probably don't need to zoom in on the character when I have the VTuber. We want sustainable food, so that means ratatouille, or as we learned last time, meat bundles. Which are just as good as ratatouille, I'm pretty sure. Ratatouille. Pretty sure if we save both of those, 18, 20. I get more hunger. It might be the same amount of hunger. It's only a small difference, but this is literally 4 pieces of meat cooked. And this is 8 different ingredients. Plus, I have to make double olives and also process the olives first. So, meat bundle is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not something I can do with bone meal, which makes this ridiculous. Hey, Astro, welcome back. It's been a hot minute. Hi, how are you? It's been a minute. How are you doing? I need to drink water. I forgot to do that. Alright, meat bundle. Hi, Busy. It's my birthday. Happy birthday, dude. Happy birthday. I hope you're doing good. It's been a minute. We are doing 100 days of Amalgamation because I want to update it again, and the best way to do it is just playing through it. So we're updating it every 10 days, and we just did another update. We're on day 20. I want sustainable food, so we're going with meat bundles. It's been a very merry unbirthday. Unbirthday? Eh? Unbirthday? 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 Unbirthday. Huh? What? Also, I think I might jump a little bit too high. This is not quite reading my movements correctly. Yes, like in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, where instead of a birthday, it's an okay, okay. Mad Hatter. Got it. There's a method to the madness, and that method is cranberries. Noted. Oh yeah, I want advanced netherite. I want to make my claws netherite, and I want to get advanced netherite, which means going through tiers of netherite. This. So in order for me to get a diamond helmet, I have to get an emerald helmet, which requires gold, which requires iron, which requires a normal netherite helmet. So it's a little bit more. Upside down cake and all. That is fantastic. I know for my next birthday, my mom makes a banana split cake. And whatever you're thinking, forget it. Cookie bottom crust, bananas on top, and then, like, when we say cookie bottom crust, we're talking like the butteriest cookie you've had ever. It's just insane amounts of butter. This is just like a cholesterol abuser of a cake. Um, but I love it. Anyway, and then like a kind of banana whipped cream Cool Whip mess on top with some like nuts on top of that, and that's about it. And it's just a giant sheet pan of a cake, and I love it. That's what I want. I want that and a pizza. I just have this in mind. That sounds so good. We've already, because making like the cookie base sound is so, it makes so much. We've made like 3 of them in the past couple months, and we have enough for another still. Ooh, sounds like sugar overload. Yes, but it's so good. Speaking of cake, I got the absolute delight of treat of baking my own cake. Almond sponge cake, strawberry jam filling. Oh my god. Chocolate ganache filling too, and hazelnut Swiss meringue buttercream on top. I just wanna, like, I'm assuming this is, hey Billy Bob, I'm assuming this cake is like a circle. I'm gonna pause the game. I'm assuming this cake is like a circle. I just want to outline it in the hazelnut sticks, the chocolate hazelnut sticks. I want to have that as the edging of it. That sounds so good. Oh, speaking of sugar overload, there is something. No, it's a rectangle. You could still have hazelnut sticks. Speaking of sugar overload, my IRL friends hate me for this. There is a candy called an ooze tube. And if I text any of my friends that I'm going to get an ooze tube, they immediately know what the hell I'm talking about and are immediately disappointed. Because disregard anything you think an ooze tube is. It is a pure tube of just literally sugar gel. There are like 4 ingredients, and one of them's cornstarch and the other is flavoring. And I think third's sugar, and that's it. It's literally just a sugar gel. And they have 3 flavors. They got cherry, they got sour apple, and they got blue raspberry. That's it. And I can't decide which one I like more. I don't like cherry. I've never liked artificial cherry flavoring. I like actual cherries. I don't like the blue. I don't like the artificial cherry flavoring. It doesn't taste like cherry. It just doesn't. You've made a sugary mess of a cherry. Cherries are deliciously tart. Hey, that's not that bad. At least you're not as bad as my old middle school friend who legit snorted a pixie stick up his nose. What is with middle school friends doing that? I had one that we got apple cider packets as part of a fall or winter assembly. Everyone got one, and we got sent out to recess afterwards. And this kid is like, "Watch me snort this," and then he did. Granted, another kid would snort applesauce every single day during lunch, and by the end of the year, his head started hurting. He still kept doing it, and I didn't see him next year. I have no idea what happened to him. I think what's even funnier to add on top of it is I did date him for a short while. I think what's even funnier on top of me dating him, I also dated his best friend, because both of them had a crush on me, and we had an anime moment of walking through this was middle school. This is still middle school. Walking through the halls of my middle school, and they had a whole anime broment where they're like, forget this. They're best friends. We're not gonna let dating get in the way of that. And then they walked off without me. This is probably the most fan fiction moment of my life. I can't. There's no explanation there. I need to see what happened to him. When the name of Beetlejuice is I don't know. I don't know. I think what's even funnier is the guy that started it. Alright. Yes, it was him. He was the definite. He's one of the few guys I would date again from middle school because he was the definition of acting like a bully but actually a teddy bear. Like the real life Simpsons Nelson. Literally just that. He was an absolute sweetheart. Adorable. I think that's probably the funniest story for my dating. For my dating background. It's even funnier when you know I'm Arrow Ace now. Anyway. Yeah. I wanted to fight all the bosses. I want gear. I want food. And so the ways we're gonna get food is either Ratatouille or the meat bundle. And I think meat bundle will be easier. So I need to, because we're a phantom, I need to set this up underground. So I think maybe we will dig a little, or what if I push this back? If I push, how much farther can I go? Into the, oh, I clicked the wrong button. I keep like, in order to use the phantom ability, I have it set to left alt so I can just move my thumb real quick to it. But half the time I overmove, and I hit the Windows button instead and completely exit the game. Okay, alt. Yeah, I can move back a little bit. I got plenty of room to do this. Okay. We're gonna take apart this beautiful bed I just made. I think I forgot to write down one of the mods we added. We added a mod called Loot as well. It's spelled with 3 O's. And it just adds, like, little names to some of the items in the game. So... 2, 3, there we go. So some of the loot we get from now on might have, like, a really random name to it. It might be called... Glorix... Fantastic Pants? I don't know. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know you know, but you seem like the type to love this like I do. I found a Modpack for How to Train Your Dragon Modpack. Truly absolute cinema. Also, by the way, nice full base. Thank you. That does sound fantastic, though. I know one of my cousins absolutely adores How to Train the Dragon. We're talking, they decorated their graduation cap like How to Train Your Dragon. And I'm not sure if they do play modded. Or if they, because I'm pretty sure they just have a console. I need to see if they're able to do that. I know CurseBoard recently started adding, mobile, what's the word I want? Mobile support, so I'll have to see if they like that. But that is absolutely amazing. That sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna have to look into that. Because honestly, I would straight up play that. Well, I know where I'm making my next window. The animations are just perfection. If you want the name, I believe it's called the Isle of Burke. Ooh, yes. I'm definitely gonna have to look into that. Because that sounds bloody fantastic. I keep forgetting how fast I am running around. It just it feels almost ridiculous. I just want one. There we go. And make a quick little batch of torches. I have full bread. I don't need no torches. There we go. And probably go with something like that. There we go. And we'll make a little window back here. I need more sand then. Let's do a 4 window this time. Because that should do what I want to. Cue Michael from Office going, parkour! Parkour! I need to sit down and watch The Office. I know a fair amount of clips and the memes, but I haven't actually sat down to watch it yet. If I could sit through Criminal Minds, I could probably sit through at least a season of The Office. Where is home? House? Out? House. Up. I think Distance Horizons definitely broke this for the Phantom, but it's fine. It's fine. Cool. Cool. And I need to put all the items in my inventory back over here. Totems. Running shoes. These are those relics. These are those relics. I don't know what I was putting in the third one, so I'm gonna put these relics in this one. There we go. And then I need to change the floor to dirt. 4 cows. Lovely, lovely cows. Although I kind of want to make a little bit of this a walking space. I know at the very least I do need to change out the entire. Look. I'm almost slightly annoyed at how fast I walk around. It's just a little bit too much. 15 is probably the max I'm gonna go. I'm trying to think. Because I kind of want to make that wall another one of these like counter storage spots. But then if I'm making this a hallway, they have this little space to be in, and I want a lot more cows than that. Granted, that might make it easier to breed them, but I could also make this entire room for my cows. So, but I could also just do this little spot and then have a pit for the cows. What is something I could walk up but they couldn't? Because I don't have a high enough jump. And they could definitely jump up trapdoor. I could always just do ladder wall. That'll do. Yeah, let's do a ladder wall. Okay, I lied and double-checked mod thread. The mod pack is called Scales and Skies. Ooh. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. It does sound so dope, though. That's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna do this for decor. Because I want stairs here, but you can't place ladders on stairs, so here we are. That is the opposite of what I wanted to do. Also, we're getting so low on oak, I might as well just switch over to the dark oak. Oop. Let's unmemorize you. Let's stack in there. Oop. There we go. So please let me know your luck. On my first world, I ended up on an abandoned island, and minutes after leaving shore, found a baby light fury. Extremely hard, rare to find dragon, let alone a baby. If it's on an early enough version, I can guarantee you I will find the Deep Dark. That is the one and only thing I can guarantee. There we go. For some reason, I have a track record, and I don't know why, but it just is. And I don't think it will ever cease to be. It just continually happens, and there's not an explanation to be had. Okay, fine. Followed by a crate traded by one and only trader Johan that gave me a blue razor whip egg. Ooh. Sounds rare and fancy. And of course, that one leap. And of course, I have 2 when I need 3. Boop, boop, boop. Didn't I? I swear I had dirt. Where did I get dirt from? I swear I had some. Netherrack. I do not have dirt. Oh, I probably got dirt doing this, but then I placed all of it back. We're gonna steal dirt from right here. This should be enough. And then we'll recover the stone. That should be enough? Probably. No, absolutely not. No, I can already see it. Yeah, I need 16, so I'm few short. I'm 3 short. Hello! Oh, magic tree. Beautiful. We're gonna ignore that piece that's floating there. I'm a phantom, I don't even need the ladder. Okay, whatever. I don't care. That's why I had logs. Okay, with the stonecutter mods we have, the logs can be used to make barrels and stuff. So it's kind of useful to keep at least some logs here or there. Slowly run back. There we go. 6. And let's go for full 6. Actually, let's go with 3. And then we'll actually make a smoke. Smoker, I hardly know her. Nope. There we go. Wait, I wonder if this just crosses over. So we have Essential. I also have Essential on my server, Passion SMP. And there's a moment I currently have in my recordings that will be added to the next episode. Do I keep my outfits? Yes, I do. Meet Penny. Oh no, it doesn't work. What do you mean it doesn't work? Look at Penny. Look at them. So it turns out with the free stuff, you can make this horrible abomination. And there's a lot of free stuff you can get, and it's fantastic. Outfits, back to normal. We're gonna place that right there. And... yes, okay, yes. I know what I wish to do now. I'll take those back. And do this. And then break that. And replace that. And we're gonna move you probably to right. Boop, boop. Sleep. Till the next night. It's still crazy how fast the days actually go by. When you're like, you need to pay attention to them, but also you're just kind of playing the game. And so the days are both like passing but not passing really. Yeah, no. Ooh, I think for the window I want 5. I want 5 pieces of glass instead. Okay, hold on. We gotta get another piece. I don't know why the pillagers are here, but they're here. There was... I swear there's glass or sand right here. Yes? What, you? Kelly? What? Oh, Ender... oh! Why can I see you but not... oh my. You are a creature. You certainly exist. I'm gonna ignore you, and I'm gonna grab my sand and go. Goodbye. I apparently got shot in the face. Omne, omne. It is named Homne, yes? Homne. Another piece of coal. And there's the pipe. Someone start the counter. Why did I do this to myself? Oh no. Humpy, pray tell, what did you do? What has transpired? What did you do? What happened? I think I only need 2. Yes. I'm on day 7 of 10 days in a row of working. Oh yeah, that'll do it. I completely forgot you were doing that. I'm gonna be so honest. Can I get away with just... I honestly do not remember how I did this. Yeah, it's a lot easier when it's not diagonal. Oh, there we go. I expected a shift on my 1 day off for my friend to hang out with her boyfriend. Oh, I already forgot how I'm doing this because I switched it up on myself again. This spot. I probably should have made this at night. I placed these in the wrong spots. This is now a 3 and not a 5. We're gonna ignore everything prior. Oh. How do? I'll make look good, yes? I'll do that. You know what, we're gonna stick with that. We're gonna stick... No. Nope. You know what? Oh. Chat's covering it. Of course chat is. This is why I wanted the different resource pack. This is exactly why. Look at him. Oh, I wanted him to move and turn and look at me. We could try it with this guy. Yeah, they're like wolves. That's adorable. I'm sorry, but you get insta-killed by me. Rested pepperoni, indeed. I just poke them and they fall over dead. What a horrible way to pass. Miscellaneous. Why are my sticks everywhere? Sticks here, sticks there, not in my inventory apparently. I kinda want them to be. You know what? Pillager stuff can go here. Blue boy. Blue good. Blue very good. Yes, yes, yes. On birthday baby? Oh yes! It is. Beef. Actually, I want to see. I'm curious if I carry the cow, because we can, with my mods, I can pick up the cow. I can carry him through blocks. I can't see where I'm going. Oh my god, I can carry him through blocks. Little baby's a year older. We have 1 cow. And now I need to get another bag. And there's another cow. It's my cow. It's just the same cow. There's a llama. But you know how the saying goes. He's supposed to be dead. It's Astral's birthday, lol. Yes, I know, they told me. Between watching streams and making a very important decision, choosing pretty medieval press-on nails. Also, yay, beef patty for the win. Yes. We're gonna get all the beef. You're gonna have meat bundles. Carl, that kills me. Did I turn that one back on? I know I turned down or turned off a lot of the sound alerts. Hold on, let's add in Carl. Where's Carl? No. Okay, yeah. Hold on. Also, something I find hilarious. I have horrible eyesight. I've known this for quite a while. I have horrible eyesight. And instead of like accommodating myself and increasing like font sizes so I don't have to lean in and stare at the screen, I just suffer. And so today I changed my computer background and I made the icons large for it. And it looks very much so millennial. And like hold on, let me let me show you what my guy I have the base image I'm using. Hold on. Where did I throw this lovely photo? I think it got moved to this. Yes, it's in this folder. This is what my background currently looks like. So very much so millennial. And then I have my apps in the left side and my folders on the right side. And gotta go, break is almost over. Alrighty. And so I'm like, okay, that's actually a lot easier on my eyes. Let's do this on my browser too and make just the font extra large. And it's crazy how much easier it's been all day for me to just maintain a normal posture because I'm not leaning in every 5 minutes or 5 seconds. So I'm not leaning in every 5 seconds to try and read anything on the damn screen. And it's crazy how much that's actually like impacted my day since changing it like 4 or 6 hours ago, something like that. 6 hours ago. I know it was. Oh right, I have Bad Omen forever. Haha, guess what? If you didn't know, milk is overpowered and clears everything. I need more cows. We need to go out and get more. Where? I haven't really seen cows. I don't think I can care. There's a cow this way. There's a cow over here. Where are you? There you are. Come here. Yes. Good. You are a small boy. Okay, so this mod, this resource with the small animals and the random sizes is crazy. That's a full-size cow. That's not like a miniature one, that's just a full-size boy. I can't tell if that's supposed to be a normal-size cow with the changes. Hi, Billy Bob. I can't tell if this is supposed to be a normal-sized cow with the changes or if that's the randomizer giving me a large cow. I really can't tell. And thankfully for them, I do need to actually go out and get wheat. And the number one way I like getting wheat is just stealing from a village. So we actually did go to a village last time, so it's probably the most recent. Yes, it is. Have I bothered to make a tool? Because I will always avoid calling it the actual name. Yes, I have. You know what? We have the diamonds. I don't have the sticks, apparently, though. We have the weapons. We have the materials. Might as well. Oh, wait. I want to remember. What is the name of this? I don't... I want to look at the advancements. With advanced netherite, there is an extra achievement to the serious dedication achievement. Is it an adventure? Where do they throw this? What are you? Oh, defeat the Void Blossom, yeah. Is it not in? No. Minecraft Comes Alive, Dungeons Enhanced, Croptopia, Incendium. Is it under Nether? Dormine Debris, Hot Forest. Spooky, scary skeletons, more pigs. Where is it then? Is it under Mine? It's not under Minecraft. Repurposed structures. Where's serious dedication hidden? It's not in the Nether. Where is serious dedication? Oh, there it is. Why is it under husbandry? There's serious dedication, but it's not showing. You can get a diamond netherite one, and there is an achievement for it. I mean, people look at me insane for turning one to netherite, but people also forget, like, I do building. You can use silk touch on them to get leaves. And it's a really good way to get hay bales, too. And why are there no hay bales here? I doubt I already stole them. Is that it? Oh, he's a cat. He's a cat. Oh, he's so chunky. That's a fluffy boy. You know that's a fluffy boy. So what's with all the beehives? Mine. Oh, now my computer's lagging. Lovely. Oh, this is what the iron golems look like, by the way. Can I... Where? Oh, he's still there. So I think Distance Horizons definitely breaks this a lot. I love it, but then I can't see mobs outside of here. I think it's just straight up broken up. Because part of the way I attack a lot of mobs is doing this. And sometimes, depending on what the enemy is, I do have to be 2 blocks underneath, but now I can't see him. Wait. Oh my god. I'm finding ways to break my own game. Lovely. Also, that's actually really nice horse texture. The head's kind of big. I think that's actually pretty accurate to just normal horses. Okay, we're not actually using this for bread. We're just using it straight up wheat, so that might be enough to get us going for a little bit. I would like to try and see if we got any hay bales. Any more? Pretty please.
Hello.
Archer, passive. Personality, flirty. Ah, yeah. Beep. Okay, hay bales? Hay bales? Anyone going once, going twice? Kitty cat. Right. Hello. Hay bales. No. I don't. What's with a beehive? What? What? This isn't bedrock. This isn't bedrock. What was that? Seriously though, what's with the beehives? I just... Okay, I guess we're going back with this many hay bales. I would prefer more. Are there any... Well, hi, buddy. Wait, do I even need the claws? Can I just poke them? Can I just poke them? Weird terrain gen? It's... well, yes and no. Terralith is what's causing the biomes. The weird terrain generation would be from a different mod I had for a moment. That we ended up getting rid of. So, the chunks at spawn, there's a reason why it looks like this right here. I got rid of one that smoothed out my terrain, but it ended up... I didn't like how it worked, and it ended up with a lot of weird, laggy structures that weren't spawning the way they were supposed to. So, right now, the stronghold is usually bad, but this is the worst I have ever seen it. So if we slowly jump on up, you can see how horrible it is. This is the worst, by far, that I've ever had this stronghold spawn in. And the library is even worse. The library is usually pretty fine. It's usually far away enough. Like, we're completely underwater. The library is usually fine because it's far away enough. But there is a whole ass wreck ship in the middle of this. There's just an entire ship in the middle of this library. And it's not opening the check. It won't even let me undo Phantom. I'm trying to click. Oh, there it goes. It's bad. This is the worst I've ever seen it. And I've seen worse a couple times. Usually I expect this, but it's cut off other structures. And cut off a lot more than that. There's probably supposed to be a village here. Actually, hold on, I'm gonna steal those. Ooh! You're cool, dude! Can I poke you? Almost. Ooh. Okay, I can't get more damage. I have exactly 20. Why there's air pockets. It has caused air pockets in the ocean. This is when you know it's bad. This is when you know it's bad. Anyway, I'm gonna go with those hay bales. So yeah, we got rid of it. Oh wait! That's how bad it is? Okay, this is a room. This is actually a room. I know this exact layout. This is one of the rooms that spawns in the stronghold. It overwrit its own room. This is a genuine room that spawns in the upper portions of this modded stronghold. It'll have these hay bales and pumpkins for you. I wonder if we can even, like, come down here and find this. Yeah, it's right here! This specific furnace layout. Up there. So it's even overwritten itself. Yep, there's the pumpkins. And there's my hay bales. Well, great find. I didn't even think about this place having hay bales. Okay, that's a fair amount. Yeah, and then... I expect this at this point. I expect it to happen full-heartedly. But, yeah, this is pretty bad. Oh, hey, there's a cave over there. Yeah, even though I have Distant Horizons turned off, it's still pretty bad. And I think I need to completely just yank Distant Horizon. Oh, hydrate. Yes, yes, I will hydrate. I know there's a way to, like, tell you I have. Hold on. I'm pretty sure I, like, have to go into Twitch and be like, oh, yes, I hydrated. I know there's a way to do that. I'm stream manager. Yes, thank you. Later. Oh, we don't need to hear me twice. Is it this one? Hydrate. So that's just activity feed. Okay. Okay. I thought there was a way to, like, confirm I have done the thing, but apparently not. Where's... Oomps the dove? I mean, there's emerald blocks here. I'm going. Might as well. Might as well. Give me. I will happily be greedy. We need emeralds later for the advanced netherite. That's scrap. Boop, boop. Hey, more pearls. What? Oh, hi, buddy. Bonk. Boop. We already have roller skates. I've gotten that before. I don't necessarily care about the gold. Hi. You creature. You are a creature. That's what you are. Hydrate? Yes, I will hydrate. Nummy. Every time I refill my water bottle, I always refill it to the brim with ice. And because I've had it sitting there for a minute because I've been talking focusing on stream and not doing anything else. It's nice and ice cold right now. It's fantastic. There's more emerald blocks. I just want to find the way out. Where's the way out? Where's big room? Up there. Where's big room? Okay, staircase. Over here. Hi, there we go. Omni. Back Omni. Crunchy crisp water. Yeah, where did my other cow? Oh. What? Oh, I have particles off. Particles. Animation. Oh, perform. It's this. Right? And is it animations? Would it be animations? Because particles are on. Oh, parrots in the bath. Oh my god. You are adorable. Okay, so that's how you can tell this is an adult cow. Because that guy's face is huge. That's the only way you can tell. That's insane. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see the skies. I added pretty skies. I want to see the skies. Apparently they ain't working. I prefer room temp water myself, or cool but close to room temp. Yes, I am weird, but it sounds satisfying. I have to head out now to get good sleep, but this was fun. Have fun with the stream. Thank you. Have a good night's sleep. There we go. Pretty sun. Pretty skies. And there can randomly be like solar eclipses as well. Solar eclipses, this and that, yada yada. Where's... I want vanilla fog. Huh. I did click enable, yes. And disable Distant Horizons fog? No, I'm just not allowed to have vanilla fog, apparently. Just not allowed to have it. Interesting. Because I like having this on. This looks fantastic. I love the way this looks, even if it's horrible over there. I do love the way this looks. My computer does not. What if I literally... I don't have Distant and Generation on. I don't understand. World Gen. I just... Cave calling off. I just want vanilla fog. I don't understand. Fog. Yes, vanilla fog's on. Neither of the fogs are working. Okay, we will just deal, I suppose. And I can still see where I'm not supposed to. So that's definitely... I have to get rid of it in order to actually go back to normal. And you have a 5-minute timer every time I want to breed you guys. Which is the one thing that sucks about this. So I think I have to go get myself some looting. So probably go back to the stronghold. Move these up. And start getting enchanting going. Oh, I need an XP farm. Let's handle that first. Because if I lose my... You... You're still fine. You are not. You are not okay. You are not okay. Suddenly this farm, I don't feel so bad about it. I suddenly don't feel so bad. I was not even... Oh. Oh dear. I want to make a bunch of things. So, I want to go find more things like this. Do you have... You're wither skeletons, right? Ah, the game's lagging. That's lovely. Oh, the game is so lagging right now. I don't... Why is it lagging? Why is it lagging so much? Is it because I have a bunch of piglins around me? The Strider farm isn't that bad and I kill all of them fast enough, so why are we having a problem? Oh, I'm walking through magma, yeah. Ooh. Piglins still, or hoglins still do good damage. They do very good damage. Especially when I'm already taking a lot. Heal, please. We'll disrupt the 20. Ooh. You're right there. Lovely. Is this how far-sighted people feel? I myself am nearsighted. I do not understand. I definitely want to keep this one, because it would be very helpful for getting the Wither later. I want to... Oh, no. Let's get rid of all the fire. No. There we go. Oh, boop. Oh, wonderful. I can switch back and forth. Okay, good. And we're just gonna place you... I could add it on top up there, couldn't I? For the moment, let's just stick it, like, use this space. Oh, I don't have the food. I don't have the hunger. Let's just use this space as my spawner dumping ground, because there's very few things that could actually... Oh, you suck. Honestly, even this alone is a decent XP farm. I might just need this. But it would be nice to have multiple forces. I might have to make... I still don't know how the end will go. I'm almost tempted to just go for the Ender Dragon. But with my current issues with Distant Horizons and needing to change that, I'm gonna have to wait at least to the next time I could change mods, which is day 30. Apparently I'm walking through magma blocks. Every time I'm just starting to take random damage, I'm just gonna assume I'm walking through magma blocks. Also, Distant Horizons is turned off, but I assume I have to completely remove it in order to fix this issue. And I do not feel that it is fair for me to do that before the 30 days. So, we just have to deal with it. I want to check out... Do I have extra... Yes, I do have extra waste. I want to go towards the Nether Fortress. Because sometimes those can have... I haven't made an Explorer's Compass yet. I am an idiot. Let it be known, I am an idiot. Fortress. Young's Better Fortress. 400 this way. Noted. Let's go. Oh, there's one right here. What are you? This is the same thing as over there. Piglins. So not as useful, but we can still use it. Oh my god, that's adorable. You are adorable. Anyway. What is that? Oh, it's one of those. Okay. I'm going to have to be very careful about walking around in the nether like this because of how laggy my game is right now. And how much it hates me doing this really is the true dead end answer there. It hates me doing this. Oh, there's another spawner. What are you? You're blazes. You looked cool as hell, bro. Okay, I dropped fire charges now because of the fireball mod. I did see that. I do know of that. Let's just go. There you go. You. Hold on, no, I want to. You look like a dragon. That's epic, bro. Into the fire. So it looks like they just drop every time the fire charges. Oh, mim yum, him mim yum, na squash banana, home mim yum. Mom. Oh, mim yum, him yum yum. Give me. Thank you. I love being overpowered. It's not quite overpowered, but I am most certainly strong. And it's great. I almost wonder a hoglin spawner would be worth it. Because hoglins drop pork. I don't need steak or beef for the cooked meat bundle. I need anything. So pork would definitely be a good shout. The hoglins would be a good shout. So I'm gonna have to find my way to a hoglin spawner for food. Because that would just be infinite food. I need a safe way to handle them, but that would be a really good way to do it. So forget the cows I have, they are now decoration. We're gonna go get some name tags for them. I need a hoglin spawner. How long are these guys gonna take to spawn? I just want to get the pearls for the end of the game. That only makes 6 right now, and I guarantee you that portal has not a damn thing in it. There's probably nout. I would like to be prepared. Also, that means we literally don't need to go after those stables at all. Literally useless. Oop. Boop, boop. Please. Please. I probably need to upgrade my luck more. I'm not sure if luck does genuinely affect the tables, but I'm hoping it does. I would imagine luck does affect somewhat the ability to actually get items. Yeah, I just got 2 more. I don't know if that's confirmation or just me being lucky in general. Honestly, it could be either. Bunch of blazes around. There's one 5 feet this way. All the way up there? Okay. Okay. I care about the blazes here. There we go. Give me one. That's not what I wanted. You guys spawn slow. This is a lot funnier when you can see in first person. Like, yeah, you expect this, but then you go in first person and it's just... Yep. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, 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 yep. Oh, yum, 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 la 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 la, squash banana, oh, yum. Lovely. Thank you. It away. And I'm already almost out of food. So I think I'm actually gonna have to just turn all of these into bread. Just make a whole bunch of bread. Don't gotta worry about food no more. Just bread. Oh, hi, sir. Bye. Fear not, for we have bread. Bread, 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 bread. Bread, bread, bread. Bread, bread, bread. I'm going to an event Saturday. I'm debating whether or not I want to bring bread or not. There's like a few things I'll typically bake if I'm going to some event or another. That's enough. Because we don't need to, like, go actively find the stronghold. I can't... Okay, so those dungeons are just small dungeons. I can't specifically look for, like, a Hoglin one or not. You're Piglin. So we don't care. Rage Glove. We still need to make a relic table. That's another thing. Oh, I'm going the wrong way now. Lovely. Oh, geez. Don't... I want it to be underground. Oh, wait, hold on. It is underground. The part I want to go to is, in fact, underground. So, yeah, I can absolutely just do this. I can 100% do this. Part of the Young's Nether Fortress is just straight up underground. That's great. Okay. Oh. Why am I... Oh, am I walking through magma? Oh, you suck. Why am I walking through so much magma? Is there just a clump of magma blocks down there? Also, what is this? What you? You are literally just another word. It's just another word. Oh, there's the fortress. And that's a gauntlet. Oh my, you stupid thing. So this is where you fight one of the bosses. The gauntlet. And I think you just have to break one of these, and then you summon. I do not feel like wasting my time doing that today. Oh, you stupid. And I'm hoping I get lucky here once again. Do you have looting? Are you looting? Fire aspect. Actually, yes. Fire protection? No. We do not care about that. No, sorry. And then there's a couple hidden up here, apparently. Curse of Binding, absolutely not. You? Curse of Binding, absolutely not. What about you? That's you. Obsidian. Lag was found in that barrel. Diamonds. My computer is raging, by the way. Let it be known. My computer is very upset about the ongoings that are transpiring. Oh, right, I can't walk through Obsidian. How did I even pronounce that? Can't walk through Obsidian. It will not let me. No, no. I just want some netherite. There is a decent chance of getting netherite in this, because I've done it numerous times now. I've gone specifically to nether fortresses just for their netherite. So I know I can. Iron backpack. We have an iron backpack. I could make it gold if I want to, but I think we're doing just fine. Iron's perfect. There are blazes that can spawn here, but we don't care about them. I just want to look through the chests and see if there's any netherite for me. A full netherite ingot is a little more on the rare side, but it is still very much so possible. And I would like that to happen. Would you please? That's what I would like. What I desire, that's what I require. Moan, give. No. We're still only... Oh, we're within 1,000 still. I am loving and hating the changes that Ascendant Mobs did. Like, I know I'm talking about this a whole lot, but I can't figure out if I like it or not. Because on one hand, the nether's a lot easier to deal with. On the other hand, it's easy. There's no challenge here anymore. And seriously, I probably have built most of the mod pack around the Ascendant mobs at this point. And that is like my main core strategy with doing any of this. Because they create serious difficulty challenges that make this all the more... Oh! Spooky, scary skeletons. Maybe we won't need that with a skelly spawner. Unless I want to kill multiple withers, but I only really want to kill one. Or at least one in the end. There's... over here... diamond, obsidian, 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 obsidian. No netherite. Lovely. I came here for one reason, and it's for netherite. If I could please have that. And we're back to the gauntlet, so we're back up where we started. And those are magma blocks. Okay. I do need to place a waystone here anyway, so we can come back here later. Because I will want to come back here for the gauntlet. And yeah, I guess the stronghold, the fortress is here, but we don't really care about that part. Brighter. So let's handle you a lot. Oh, I didn't need a sit. No, thank you. No! Y'all suck. You suck. Why are you blue? Why are you blue? Is that just like a rare... Do I have shinies in my game? Did I unintentionally add shinies? Because I don't think that's the color they take on when they're cold. I really don't think it is. Yeah. Why? You specifically are just... You specifically. I have a shiny. You are a shiny Pokemon. What is this? When did I add... How? What? Cool, bro, but you're weird. I don't want to keep you, but I'm probably going to see a million of you, so... Sorry, bud. You're dying like the rest of them. Let's get them back down in that corner again. That one's stuck over there. There we go. Lovely. Now we're up to 25, so now I can one-shot everything in the overworld, pretty much. Please. Thank you. My stupid children. Okay. Let's go back to home now. I do need to get a handle on that food, though. You are the wrong barrel. Fire aspect is great, and we will add that. But I do need more than that. Also, Pat wants to... Oh, jeez, it's been over an hour. Thanks. Okay. My helmet's almost broken, which is lovely. I will actually take the time. I don't think anybody actually does this anymore, not since mending. I believe this is actually useful enough of a helmet to repair it. And warrant repairing it. What about you? Not really. No. No. Fire aspect. We're throwing everything on this one, so we might as well continue that. Because this is the main one I attack with. Despite this one taking more damage. I care about the enchantments on this one. This one, I think, actually does most of the hitting. So I want that one to be able to be used and not worry about me breaking it. I still want to get that Hoglin spawner. To the best of my ability, we're going to attempt to find one. Because I do believe that is seriously a way for me to get around the issues I'm having. I can't think of any other mobs that could truly give me food like that. Technically, you can from others, but not like the Hoglins. I swear there's probably something or other that genuinely has Hoglin spawners. But I think it's just the small dungeons. I swear there's something else modded that has them. But I can't think of what that is. There's one up there. Yeah. We gotta be careful approaching it, though. You are... Strider. Don't care. We already have one of those. Power. I almost want to get it, but I don't use my bow enough to warrant that. Come on. I just need... Oh, it's another gauntlet. Yeah, I'd recognize that from a distance. It's another gauntlet. Okay. It doesn't help. I need to actually place a waystone in order to use a waystone and get back until I make a warp stone, which I don't think I currently have the materials to do. Bastion. There's another... Or there's two over here. Please, one of you. One of you. Riders. Bottle enchanting. Chain lightning, yes, please. You know what? There's 3 name tags here. I did say I wanted to name the cows, so let's do that too. What are you? Come on. It's piglins. Space dissector. And other side for some reason. Oh. That's a piglin village. But I know it spawns of hoglins, but I don't think it has a hoglin spawn. And you're a whole bastion. I don't really want to deal with you. I really don't. It's stupid magma again. I must feel like this is a pretty good spot for me to be, all things considered. I can go pretty low. And I'm pretty sure bedrock will, in fact, stop me. I am almost positive of that fact. Come on. That's another fortress. It's worth taking a peek. See if there's any chests. That room is not worth it. Never has, never will. Can you open? There we go. Game is not happy with what I'm doing. There we go. Game really ain't happy with what I'm trying to pull here. Okay, is netherite, please? Just give me some easy netherite, that'd be great, and then we can call it a day. Actually, not yet, because I still want to hit 25. Not 25. I do want to hit 25. I want to hit full 30. The hope is I can hit roughly 30 every stream. Why am I seeing... Why is there a player? Why? Huh. Whoopee cushion! Whoopee cushion! Forget the snorkel, whoopee cushion! Wait, I'm pretty sure it goes anywhere. Yes, it does. We will keep the whoopee cushion on. Oh. Never mind. We turn off. But yeah. Okay, lovely. That was very much so worth it. Simply for the whoopee cushion. That is my only justification of doing that. And it was worth it. Okay, why are there like no chests in this one? Where's all your loot gone? Where's the loot gone? You. I love how I have to shift all the time for various things. So we're just gonna hear that little fart so much for the rest of this playthrough. And I can't wait. Okay, there's literally nothing here. We're continuing on. And start heading southeast. Are you? Whoop. Oh, you're this one. You are crap. But not really worth it. Nope. 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 Okay, goodbye. Have a great time. That's more natural forest. I'm gonna move even lower down. Because this ain't safe. Is the game starting to actually consider... There's an Olay? Why is there an Olay above me? Oh! It's a piglin, base. Oh my god, you guys are adorable. You guys can't really follow me anywhere, but you're adorable. Okay, carrying on. So that's cute. That's super cute. Very happy I added assorted allays. They're great. Okay. I'm starting to not see anything again. I guess it's just all preloaded chunks. Because I'm starting to only see a little bit of the chunk I'm in, so it's starting to work correctly again. Let's look for just a small dungeon. Small nether dungeon. Small dungeon? What do you mean not found? I know they exist. We've been near You suck. Now we're hitting chunks I can see again. Okay, so it looks like... Oh. We have to stay somewhere near these, apparently. Or maybe I have to stay somewhere near this. That's what it is. Oh, I'm at 3, so I'm hitting bedrock. Yeah. That's definitely completely full of lava, and I just can't see it. Oh, absolutely. Yep. That's another gauntlet. That might be the same gauntlet from earlier. Not the very first one I saw, but the one I commented, oh, another gauntlet. No, this is new chunks. Okay. I don't know then. And this is all just lava. Oh. Come on. I know what I saw. Hitting magma again. I know I saw one. There it is, there it is, there it is. Here you are. Well, I'll take blazes, but it's not what I was hoping for. There's no way there isn't a Hoglin version, right? There's gotta be. My only chance of permanent food. There's gotta be at least one. That's a bastion up there, I know that much. Let's try heading out this way. I almost want to turn Distant Horizons back on so it starts working again. I forgot I'm not even supposed to have that compass on. I'd like turning it off in large part. I know these have blaze spawners. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're blazes, right? Yeah, blazes. Blazes are very easy to come by. It's the hoglins that are difficult. Blaze? Yeah. I know I've seen one. I know I have. I just have to find one. Apparently I was walking through lava. Come on. Pretty sure if I stand in one spot, I can see different things. Let's try and get the most out of what I can do. There's something that way. Come on. Hoglin. 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 Watch it just be my base. Oh, there's one right here. And there's one over there. Okay, okay. What are you? You are magma cubes. Come on, please. Please. Please, Hoglin. Be a Hoglin. I'm pretty sure it just spawned zombie piglins. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all kind of suck. Y'all really do suck. Oh, lovely biome. That's great. Looks like we're heading that way. I'm hoping that it should still spawn the dungeons that I'm looking for. I'm just not a fan of walking around in this biome because it's full of lava and firestorm. And it spawns blazes that don't even drop blaze rods. What's this? This is one. This is one. This is one. Hoglin. Please. I'm pretty sure that's zombified piglin. Zombified piglin. Yeah. Okay, back under. Come on, I just need you to spawn in a hoglin spawner. There's one over there. There's one. That's a different thing. That's a very different thing. Come on, anyone. I'd sooner find the Inferno before I found a stupid hoglin spawner. Inferno is one of the worst bosses, by the way, in my opinion. There's one up here. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Is another zombie. I already have blazing flask. Elemental efficiency. You know what? Sure. I don't know what that is, actually. I'm gonna assume it's just a tower, but... It's a tower. Light sense. Oh, because I killed a blaze in this biome. Boop, boop, boop. Waste stone? Yeah, sure. And let's get out of this biome, because I don't like it. I am not a fan. It's great. It's fantastic. I just don't like playing in it. It is fantastically made, very well done. Horrible to play in. Why is... That's just a hole. It is just a hole in the ground. What? What's that? Why? Why aren't you some of you red brick? Why some of you red brick? What? Why that? Why is that? Also, why is this like a consistent issue? Why do you just have random holes underneath your structure? That seems like a little bit of an oversight. Okay, what can we actually do for this? Bastion that way. You've already headed out farther than the gauntlets this way. Apparently I was walking through more magma. Let's go back down. What level am I at? Okay, we're starting to see... There we go. Starting to see again. Is there anything? Nope. I can hope, but it doesn't seem like we're gonna find one. Can I see again soon? I wonder if somebody's made a Hoglin spawner. Hold on. I would think maybe that's a possibility. Maybe? Has someone made that? I don't know why someone would, but maybe. Hoglin Farm. I need 1.19.2. Someone has. It's in the nether roof, but someone has made it. Okay, so we might need to get up to the nether roof, but we can absolutely make one. That might be the call then. I was hoping we'd go spawn around. I really enjoy my spawner farms. What is that symbol? What is that on the compass? It says it's below. Oh, you're a goblin. Netherwort. Nah, smite's not too good. Knockback, luck. 5 dragon heads and you get a sharpness. That's 7? And I'm breaking 7. Jeez, okay. That's fantastic, little dude. Good on you. Okay, noted. That's the nether goblin. That's a setup for a joke. That is just a joke setup right there. Have you seen the nether goblin? Okay, I could see from right here, there's towers there. That's the black spiral, that's the fortress. That's more of the fortress. I'm not seeing... That's something over there. I think it's just another... That might be a thing. It might just be a random house kind of thing, but it's worth checking. You are just a wither skeleton that's not spawning in. Okay. Novelty drinking hat. Decreases the time it takes to eat and drink. And I'm going through more blocks I don't need to. Oop. There's hoglins up ahead. I have a feeling I'm definitely... What is... This is the portal. I know a portal when I see one. This is a portal. That's a portal. It's got nothing, though. It's got nothing. We're definitely gonna have to go on the roof, then, for that hoglin spawner. I need to get back to where I'm supposed to be, though. If Gauntlet's there, then I need to go back down here somewhere. Wait, hold on. There we go. I just had to turn my waypoints back around. Oh my god, because I have an animation when I'm on fire, I can see myself holding my things up in the air. And down under we go. Down under we go. All the way back home. All the way back. All the way back. Crazy it's already been 2 hours for like 5 days though. I mean, this is currently Thursday. I usually stream Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I wanted to go with Thursday this time around because, one, I just needed to like sit down and do something, and I've been low-key... My brain's been on the fritz for like the past several days. I haven't been able to get anything done. Literally barely even eating and drinking properly. So I wanted to just actually sit down and do. And I did manage to get the work done on this and get everything updated, look into new mods, make the little slideshow that was at the beginning of stream. Where is... Oh, it's over there. And I know I'm not going to be able to stream Saturday. So we're here today. I have a feeling I might need to cut it off here. Because I'm already running low on energy. How close are we to... Oh, we are supposed to be sleeping right now. It doesn't help that I haven't been sleeping because I've been in the nether, so the days have been going on like through the entire night cycle instead of me sleeping into the next. Let's stick you in here, stick you in here. Anvil. Oh. I want chain. I want both. I can't. These don't go together. I can't even put it on. I can't put elemental efficiency on it, but I can do chain lightning. What is elemental efficiency used for? Oh, okay, staffs. Got it. For some reason, I was thinking it was with that mod. Okay. Of course, one of them has to be named Bessie, the cows. Gotta name one of the cows Bessie. I want to name another one Hank. Jeremiah. We're going with my way. We're going with my way. I don't care how it's supposed to be. No. Oh, you're gonna be Bessie. You're gonna be Jeremiah. You're Hank. That's the child, by the way. This is the mom, that's the dad. Wait, no, you were the child. Alright, looks like your dad's... Yeah, you're a Hank. Yep. Yep, Hank. Yep, Hank. Okay. Cool. Anyway. I think we're gonna cut it off here, then it might count back in again. It seems like with these streams, I always get... It seems like with these streams, I always go back and forth on getting a lot done one, and then barely doing anything the other. Because the first stream, we barely got through 7 days. And then the next one, I went from 7 to the 20. And now we've gone to only 25. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get a lot more done. But that'll be it for this one. I think we can actually go ahead and do a raid. Is there anybody I know live? No, not. I guess the goal is eventually I'm just gonna raid enough people that I will always have somebody to go raid out. Modded Minecraft day 4. I'm looking at some other people who are playing modded. Modded SMP day 3. Oops, we did it again. Modded hardcore, Minecraft with bro. Still modded Minecraft gameplay, loud, strong language. More channels. Hobblemon, greatness in modern Minecraft. Elfling looks chill. Making a mod pack too. I have an ad. I want to see if there'll be a good stream to raid first. It's taking forever to load. I just want to see stream. I would like to see your stream. Could you please? I would like to see the stream. Come on. There we go. Would really like to raid these people. Hmm. Trying to look through some other people. Maybe. But there's not really anybody I want to raid. So I guess we'll just end it off here for tonight. Then I hope you all have a good one. And have a great night.